There are monumental challenges to keeping Ukraine's nuclear facilities safe during the Russian invasion. When Russian soldiers took over the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in northern Ukraine, there are new reports indicating the invading forces engaged in, quote, reckless behavior. In fact, it was referred to as nothing short of suicidal. Apparently, some of the soldiers had no idea about the history surrounding the Chernobyl disaster. Joining me on the morning show is writer Howard Altman, who wrote an article for The War Zone. Good morning, and appreciate you joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Now, that article focuses on a discussion with a nuclear scientist about the potential for disaster in Ukraine. Is there real concern Europe is on the brink of nuclear catastrophe because of that reckless behavior?
Well, Olena Pereniak, who is a researcher in Ukraine, has a lot of concerns, and a number of other people. There's a number of nuclear power plants in Ukraine. Let's talk about Chernobyl first. During the Russian invasion on February 24th, Russia took over that facility. They kept a number of heavy vehicles there, tanks, lots of troops, and stored a lot of ammunition there, also rocket systems. There's a great deal of concern that an accidental explosion from all that material could create a potential disaster. The Russians have since left Chernobyl, but the concern that Pereniak has is that Russia could hit that facility with a missile or a rocket or some other airstrike that could create a twofold situation. One would spread radioactive material through a good deal of Europe, Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Poland. But the other concern, longer-term concern for Ukraine, is that the radioactive material will get into the Pripyat River, which flows into the Dnipro River, and that's the major source of water supply for Ukraine. So there's a long-term concern if that happens, because that would really boost cancer rates. The other main concern is at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, the largest in Europe, that is still being operated. The Russians control that, but Ukraine workers are there. The concern is twofold. One is that those workers are under a great deal of duress. They're working at gunpoint. Also that they're concerned that their families might get killed. So one concern is that if somebody pushes the wrong button, somewhat akin to what happened in Chernobyl back in 1986, it's a much safer plant. So that concern is not quite as dangerous. The other big concern is if Russia hits that facility with a rocket, that could spread radioactivity throughout Europe, turn into an exclusion zone like what exists in Chernobyl now, and spread radioactivity throughout the northern hemisphere.
Now, in the article, you quote Pereniak as saying, "They were shooting at a working nuclear power plant with a cannon. I wouldn't believe it. If aliens landed on my lawn, it would be okay for me, but I would never, ever believe if someone would tell me that here in Ukraine, in the former Soviet Union, someone would just take a tank and shoot into the working nuclear power plant." The Russian troops are still occupying Ukraine's largest power plant, though plant crews, as you mentioned, continue day-to-day operations. The psychological pressure on them has to be unbearable, which you alluded to. 6 nuclear power plants are under Russian control in country today. Does she believe this is a nuclear accident waiting to happen?
Yes, she said that they're just waiting for something to happen. And that's her. That's her job. Her job is to examine what happens in the wake of a nuclear disaster. She worked at Chernobyl. She worked at the Fukushima site for 2 years after that. And when she got the word about Zaporizhzhia, her heart sank. She sat in a chair and was shaking because the thought of what could happen was just unimaginable.
Bernie, I pretty much told you she doesn't want to think about the worst case scenario, but she really doesn't have a choice. So what is that worst case scenario? And by the way, as you alluded to, it's not just for Ukraine. All of Europe is at risk.
Yeah, the worst case scenario is that if a Russian missile hits that facility, that the entirety of Europe could be affected. Not just Europe, that radioactive material could spread throughout the atmosphere to the northern hemisphere. It could reach the United States as well. So there's a great deal of concern about that happening, and the Russians have shown that they're not particularly concerned about how they target particular facilities. Look at in Kharkiv, There's a facility there, and there's been lots of explosions in Kharkiv. So, a great deal of concern there.
Look, there was some correspondence that came out from Germany today and was published in Der Spiegel, and it clearly shows that the Russian soldiers have little regard, if any, for civilian life. Knowing what she does about nuclear facilities, and since she represents Ukraine in many ways, does she worry about the future and her family's safety?
Very much so. She was telling me a very harrowing story. She has a 3-year-old son, and where they were staying, there was a airstrike not too far, and her son was just absolutely terrified, holding on to her all night long. She also has a husband in the military, and so yes, there's a lot of concern. There's been so many civilian deaths in Ukraine since the Russian full-out war there started February 24th. So yeah, great deal of concern for her family, great deal of concern for her country.
Howard, if people want to read your article, it's in the War Zone. How can they access it?
They can just go to the War Zone. It's online, and you can check it out, and we'll be doing lots more.
Howard Altman, appreciate you joining us here on The Morning Show. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me.